going on, everybody? Sean Daniel with Guitar Control here. Today we're doing one of my all-time favorite songs from one of my all-time favorite bands, Starlight by Muse. Now we're going to do an acoustic version of this, and we're going to talk a little bit about bar chords, but I want you to be able to do this in an easy way where it's only power chords, because what makes it such a cool chord progression is it really kind of goes all over the place, right? So you're going to want to click the link below because we have the chord chart to follow along with. Like I said, we're going to be doing most of these as power chords. So the first thing we need to know is what a power chord is, and we're starting on B. This is going to be representative of a B major, but again, our root note is the 2nd fret on the A string. So 2A with your pointer finger, 4D with your ring finger, okay? Now, this is just a power chord that you can move anywhere. So this is a B power chord, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, so on and so forth. It isn't major or minor, but it's representative of one of them. In this case, it's gonna be major, B major, okay? So, we're gonna start with a B major power chord, and it's gonna sound like this. Okay, so there's a little bit of a strumming count that we have to get down. Now, let's talk about just how this moves around. It's going to be really 3 main parts. The first one is going to be just B. We're going to track this. We're going to add the strumming afterwards. To C sharp, which is going to be indicative of C sharp minor, but again, we're just playing it as a C sharp power chord. To G sharp, which would also be minor. To open E major. Okay? So all these are going to be power chords with the exception of E major, just because it's an easy open chord. Alright? Otherwise, we're just taking that shape, 2-4-4, moving it to 4-6-6, 1 string lower to 4E, 6-6, and then open E. I think it's easy to play this E major chord without my pointer finger, like this, because we're coming from the 4th fret to keep it together like this. So I have my ring finger on 2A, pinky 2D, middle finger 1G, everything else is open. Alright, so this is going to be our first part of the progression, and we're going to add a strumming pattern that sounds like this. So you'll notice that we're staying on these chords different sets of time. Usually a bar is like 4 counts. We're actually going to count these as having them lead up to 8, but we're going to leave 1 early. So what that means is if we're going to count this first one, I split the bar right there. The first one, the way I'm counting it is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the first count actually gets 7, and the next count gets 9, right? So all those together equals 16, which again, this is still in 4-4, but we're leaving that first chord 1 beat early, and then we're staying on the second chord. We're going to pair these chords together 1 beat later. So instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could totally do that, but I want to get a little bit more of what the pulse of the song is, and that's kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the reason I'm not counting to 7 and 9 is because when you're trying to count, the syllables will matter until you get the feel of it. So if you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even though that's correct, or you could use like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I still kind of like breaking counts into smaller bite-sized pieces like that, okay? That's just me, however you want to count it, but try to challenge yourself and get that count down, no matter how you internalize your rhythm, to make it sound like. And again, power chord version, you might have heard kind of like a major third in there, but basically it's B minor to C sharp minor, G sharp minor to E major. But that's essentially the main chord progression that we're going to go through, okay? So now that happens, that repeats a lot of times. Again, that chord chart is going to have all the information as far as when it changes for you. But I want to go into the next, I guess we'd call this, I mean, you can still look at the pre-chorus as still B to C sharp minor, to G sharp minor, to E, right? So we can still call that a different part, but it's still the same chord progression, just depending on how you play it, right? Now, the next chord progression we're gonna do is gonna start on the 4th fret of the A string, C sharp or C sharp minor, either way. We're gonna keep the same pattern, but we're gonna change where the root note is, right? So now we're gonna have So this is technically the first part of the chorus, I guess. I kind of think of this as a pre-chorus because, again, the labels don't really matter, but for me, a good indication of a label change is when the chords change, right? So now we're starting on the 4th fret, and again, I think it's really smart to pair these chords together to keep that 7 and 9 count, or, you know, 1 beat less and 1 beat more of each of them. So we're gonna pair the first one, C sharp minor, with F sharp major, or the 2nd fret on the low E string. Then the next one, really cool chord progression. This is why I love Muse so much, because it's so interesting. Now, I think a great way to look at this is kind of tracking the root notes, because a lot of these are longer chord progression strings. It might be harder to remember. But if you think of like, all right, I've got the C sharp to this F sharp, then I'm gonna repeat the same thing pretty much, but 2 frets higher, D sharp to G sharp, right? But the first time I'm going minor to major, then major to minor, or you can just forget about that and just do the power chords like I said before. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. D sharp, that's minor. Then A major to E. The A major to E part is easy to remember. Then back to A. The second time, A major to E, then A major to D sharp. And this is what's gonna bring us into what I think is like the real chorus of the song, okay? So after we go A to E, which really follows the melody of the song, as you can probably hear. Again, such an awesome song, right? So we left off on this D sharp. Now we're gonna go to what I think of as the chorus, the Our Hopes and Expectations part. G sharp minor to D sharp, to E, to B. Okay, so now this is gonna be the chorus of the song, and this repeats except for the last time, which we're gonna talk about. But again, it's really not that bad once you start seeing them as kind of patterns and how they move in relation to each other, right? Here's that little jump that we have, that kind of 2 space right here, back and forth, kind of like we did before from the C sharp to F sharp. There, we're just gonna do the opposite, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now for this one, I kind of like doing a steadier beat, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because this is more of like the driving chorus part of the song. So again, you can count it however you want, but this is just how I play it when we do this live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, back to E, and then B. So we're gonna repeat that a few times. Then the last time, we're gonna go to F sharp, dominant 7, or just an F sharp power chord. The reason we do that is because going from this F sharp, any dominant 7 chord, that is always a great indication, especially at the end of a phrase, the next one is gonna be where this is the 5 of, okay? So if that doesn't make any sense, you don't worry about that. All that means is whenever I'm rooted on the low E string, and I'm playing a dominant 7 chord, odds are the next chord you're going to is gonna be straight down a string like that, which is where we started on B major, okay? So since the song is like in the key of B major, which again, you can tell that because the bass is just on that B, right? Pro tip is you can always resolve to whatever note you are rooted on the A string by going to the string lower and putting a dominant 7 chord on it, okay? So that last, that chorus back into the verse is gonna sound like this. And 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and B and 2 and 3 and 4 and G sharp to D sharp major to E. And you can tell that's kind of a loop that keeps going, right? But if we're gonna end the next one on, if we're gonna start the next phrase on a B, we don't wanna end on a B, we wanna end on this and lead us back to B. Just like that, okay? So that's how it gets us back into the verse chords, okay? So again, kind of a tricky chord progression, but one that is like really worth learning, and I think it's a great way to just kind of make your way around the fretboard and just really like think about how you're getting from one part to another. Like a lot of really popular songs are just kind of like one loop over and over again. The reason I love Muse is because their chord progressions are very interesting. They don't do that often. So I think one of the best guitar and arrangement bands to really study. So definitely make sure you click the link below. Let us know what you think of this lesson. And then any questions or comments you have, hit us up in the comment section because we'd love to hear what you think. As always, check out other videos on the Guitar Control channel by myself and other great instructors. Let us know what you want more of, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks a lot.